What up, though? What's going on? Hope all's going well for you wherever you are in the world. And I'm not even hoping, I know it's going well for you. So, Doc and I have been talking recently about making some changes to the platform. One change we're going to make is we're going to change the name. So, we will no longer be Higher Power Tech Podcast. We are going to be My Inner Tech, is going to be the name of the company, My Inner Tech. And we felt compelled for a number of reasons to move in this different direction, pivot. Because if you notice how we've been talking to you guys over the past few episodes, it's really been not only get sharing our personal stories about our journey, where we are, success, lack thereof, whatever you may think or perceive of how we are running our lives and how we're delivering it to you. We're trying to give you the full holistic approach to how we have evolved to the points that we both are at in our lives. Him being a father, a husband, living in Zurich now for almost the past 36 months, 3 years. Me being a business entrepreneur for the mass majority of my adult life, having to pivot through multiple different companies, losing relationships, and building a successful one now into also what we're doing right now with you guys talking on this platform. Um, and then traveling the world for my second stint, and showing you guys how the process is and talking to you about the nuances of trying to see taking a small staffing firm and then trying to expand it internationally while still trying to learn different cultures again and trying to be immersed in environments, new economies, new situations, as we all are, right? New regime, new political dynamics in the United States that are shifting and changing things drastically and quickly, which also impact you. So we're talking about all these things, right? But again, if you notice how we're coming to you about the topics and about what we're talking about, we're really talking about you as an individual. We're addressing the concerns of the person's development and foundational platform of stability and stoicism that will allow you to flourish, not only just survive, but flourish during these unique dynamic times. So what we're coming to you and talking to you about, when we talk about integrity, we talk about doing mundane things, we talk about consistency, we talk about commitment, we talk about all these different things. We're really diving deeper into your inner technology, your inner person, your inner being, to make sure you're focusing on the proper things to develop you. So no matter what external adversity comes your way, which we all know if you've been living this life for over 20 years, adversity is going to hit, adversity is going to happen. Things that you anticipate and things that you damn sure don't anticipate are going to hit and are going to happen. If you don't have the resolve, the fortitude, the integrity, the internal responsibility and ownership that we've talked about, if you don't have these factors in place, then you're going to break instead of bend. And what we want to teach is, and what we want to talk about here on this platform is not so much teach, but be a reflection of bending, but not breaking. Being able to be flexible, being able to move with the ebb and flow, as we talked about in other episodes, being able to position oneself where you don't get too high, you don't get too low, but you're able to rely on self with the understanding it's not just you, right? And we're not, if you notice on our platform, we're not talking dogmatic, sects of, religious uh, premises. So, this is universal because I'm not well, I'm not atheist. I'm more agnostic than I am, anything else. I'm not atheist. I do believe there's a higher power, but we don't focus on one particular. We focus on giving respect and gratitude to the energies and the powers that are out there. But to claim one or to pick out one, we stay away from that. You do what you do. We have no problem with it. If you want to say you're Christian, great. If you want to say you're Muslim, great. If you want to say you're Hindu, great. If you want to say you're Sikh, great. If you want to say you're Buddhist, whatever, do you. The main thing that we're talking about here is making sure with whatever you claim as your centerpiece or your focal point, you want to make sure you're doing the things that align around that that don't just cry out for the help of that deity or that power, but also support that power that is within you, and making sure you're doing everything to balance out, to allow the flow of that deity that you believe in or that sect that you believe in to operate at its fullest capacity. So we're not against any of it. We just don't, succumb to or champion one, because to me, they're all the same. To me, they all have the same premise, which is us as humanity be the better of ourselves and recognize the power within us given to us by the higher powers that be, and leverage that to the fullest capability. And that's what we talk about here on this platform. So this is why we're going to change the name to My Inner Tech, because we believe if you build your inner technology, if you build your foundational premise and align it with whatever you believe in, align it with, not beg or plead or complain or cry, but do your work religiously, consistently, with true understanding that the faith that we talk about in any of these uh, sects is the faith in the unknown. The unknown is you not knowing your maximum capability or true expression. And as you evolve, learning that, giving it to your higher power, whatever that may be for you, from the standpoint you pay homage to that, you should. That's what we always talk about gratitude, because gratitude is paying homage to the external forces and energies that guide us without trying to act as if you know what it is. And if someone else doesn't know, then, and they're not a part of that, then they are not aligned with you. When we all are, last time I checked, if you cut me, I bleed. If I cut you, you bleed. If I break your heart, you hurt. If I, if I give you, something, to make you happy, you're happy, right? You're human. So we're all the same. So if we want the world to unite and we want to become, one, we have to be one with ourselves first and quit trying to, because we feel like we need to know. I know God is my savior. I know Allah is my God. I know Buddha is the lead, whatever you want to call it. By calling it and being so convicted in that this is the only way, we're separating ourselves from what we need right now, which is humanity to become one. The other reason why we changed the name to My Inner Technology or My Inner Tech is because we want to make sure, with the changes that are happening right now, with AI, with social media being such a dominant force and fake news, this, that, and the other, but AI coming on stronger and being more relevant and more prevalent in corporate and in business and in, development and knowledge sources and sourcing. We want to make sure we keep the humane side of humanity, and we also have again, foundational approach to our character, to our integrity, to the values that we hold true as humans, right? But it needs to be a uniform approach to just fundamental truths, no matter, again, what you might believe as your sect or your deity. It still needs to be one formal truth. And when we hone in on that and focus in on that, then we can be united, because we need to be united with technology that we're creating, having the capability of having potential dominance in its own way. And we got to make sure we're united, right? We can't sit here and say, well, I'm not with them because they're this, or I'm not with them because they're dark or they're light or whatever it might be, right? Uh, and this is why we want to create My Inner Tech and continue to have the conversations around unity, around principles that are tried, true, and tested, that are not, how do I want to say, alienating anyone, but anybody, no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what religious, no matter what economic status. The premise is you can build off of this, whether you are in fitness or not, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are dark or light or yellow, what doesn't matter, whether you are, like I said, any religious particular, claiming sect that you are, it doesn't really matter. There's a foundational premise to us being human. that we need to make sure we explore and build on, that will give us the integrity, that will give us the values, that will give us the core belief system within ourselves that we can build on to allow for anything that comes outside of us that's going to shake us. Again, we bend, but we do not break. All right. So that's why we're building this platform, Doc and I. That's why we're coming to you guys. And the premise is going to be based off of what I like to, I'll just give it to you, and Doc and I will explore this further once he's back on with me in the further episodes. But there are 5 C's that I like to talk about. And I got it from my first business. Shout out to Akil, my first company I started that, we had for about a decade plus, that did well in the States, from Atlanta to LA to DC. So we were bi-coastal for a period of time there. But we talked about, then it was 3 C's, but I've added 2 more. So there's no copyright. It was our IP anyway. So I created it anyway. But what I want to talk to you about is the reason why we're moving into this is number 1 C is because we're compelled. So when you're compelled to do something, it's convincing, it's forceful, something that convinces you, that's forceful, that moves you in a direction. The same reason why, you are compelled to believe in whatever sect of religion that you're in, right? Your family generally normally compels you because you grew up that way. You were born into it, right? They take you to church, or they take you to mosque, they take you to temple, right? So then you get this compelling, it invokes an interest, and it gives you have a lot of attention given to this particular religious or sect. So you're compelled to go into it, right? We're compelled to create My Inner Tech because, like I already mentioned, the times are shifting in a different dynamic, and we're at the precipice of technology really having its powerful moment where it can potentially get control of economics, of business, of the minds of people. And so what we need to make sure we're focused in is we're compelled again to hone in, like I've already kind of mentioned, in the inner technology of humanity and making sure we're sound, right? Once we get the understanding of the first C, compelling reason to move forward with developing an inner technology, it becomes paramount that we get committed to doing so, because the commitment is a pledge or a promise to something. Generally, we do it, for a cause or in relationships, marriage, i.e., marriage, or I'm committed to my religion. We want that same type of commitment to your inner technology, not to us. This is not about that. We're not building a cult here. We're not doing, we're not building some kind of new philosophy of, mantra to follow us. It's just it's principles that I think we need to unfold and bring back out in humanity and be committed to that development. So once we're compelled to make a change and see, okay, it has to be a difference. If we want things to change, we have to be the change agent first, right? We understand that. But on top of that, we have to give a commitment to, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If we've been doing it this way over here for so long, and it's still wars, it's still political strife, it's still, racism, it's still socioeconomic, mass disparity. We need to shift, people. I don't understand why it's so hard. You might think I'm over here being blasphemous because I'm not saying, well, God is the leader in, of my life. And I'm not saying I believe in that, or I'm not saying Allah is, yeah, because we've been saying that. The, Middle East been saying Muslim. Western culture in Europe has been saying God or Mary Magdalene, Europe, is the head. We've been, and there's still wars, still major economic disparity between the poor and the rich. So, but yet someone's claiming, I believe in this and it works for me when everything is working out for me, but when it's not, then it's well, you don't believe right, or you're not practicing right. And I think the practice again needs to be more focused on the commitment to oneself, the commitment to understanding one's internal technology, one's internal belief system in oneself, and making sure you're doing all that is possible, like we've talked about in other episodes: integrity, consistency of deliverables of the mundane things. Integrity meaning that you have values that you are unwavering on. understanding if you're eating fast food, right, and it's making you sick, stop. If you're drinking alcohol too excessively, or smoking, or now the new thing is vaping and shisha or hookah, and it's killing your lungs because the tobacco, stop. If the weed is making you too lethargic and you're not able to focus, not to say that, yes, there is plant-based substances are good, but anything in excess is too much. If you're having sex to escape things, stop, right? And these are things that I had to work on, and we all have to work on. I'm not above the fray, but I'm being aware. If I'm spending too much money and I need to save, I haven't put any money in the stock market or investments, or I don't have anything to lean on if times get tough, start investing, right? These are the integrity values that we have to get back to. And it's not based around religion. It's not based around, well, my God is going to help me out. No, your God has been helping you out. Your God has been giving you the information. Social media, if you're mad at the fake news, quit listening to the fake news. Go to things that are like, used to be higher power tech, now my inner tech. Come to us. We're talking about substance. We're not gossiping. We're talking about, again, being real, having a coming to, as they used to say, because I used to be in a church, you have a coming to Jesus, if you will, or coming to Allah about the truth, your truth. If you're spending too much money because you need to have the Balenciaga, or you need to have the fake Rolex, or you need to have, the Jordans, or whatever it might be, because you're not in the Balenciaga category just yet, but you're buying Jordans, or you're buying fast food, or you're spending money on things that are not allowing you to put $10 away monthly, to $1,000, $100 to $1,000 away monthly. Change. But it's your inner technology and your inner integrity. If you're building that and working on that on a consistent basis and feeding that, not feeding the gossip, not trying to sit here and look at, news channels that are wanting to berate a president who's already the leader of the nation, whether you agree with him or not, to sit here and be negative about that because it takes the attention off of you focusing on your things you need to grow on. Shift. That's why we're here, and that's why we're creating this platform. That's why we're talking about what we're talking about here on My Inner Tech. We want to make sure we're having conversations that are going to feed you. If you're not listening to podcasts, like EYL, or Diary of a CEO, or, even Joe Rogan, or, things of substance, if you're just listening to or watching TikTok dance videos still, or, cat videos, I don't even know if those are still the thing, but whatever is the easy fluff, just a comedy, mindless stuff that doesn't help you grow. Again, you're not building your inner tech. You're not building the integrity. You're not building on things that can give you consistent habits and give you the structure that you're looking for to be able to handle the adversity that is present in this world. Just like it's night, there's day. Just like there's good, there's evil. There's going to be ebb and flow. We've talked about this in other episodes. Go check out that episode. So we have to have conversation that fuels the internal cogs of one's wheels and mind and energies and spirit and emotion to grow and evolve, and not just become complacent with what is seemingly justifiable actions, which is, let's complain about what's not right. Let's complain about the Fed not raising, going up in inflation, whatever it might be, or the president doing this, or, the war happening, and, free television, just making these statements and getting involved in these things. We need to be more proactive than reactive. The only way to be proactive is by working on you, the individual. What is amazing to me is throughout humanity and throughout history, guys, it's not anything new under the sun. When war breaks out, it's because it's been years and years and years of one side saying they're right, this side saying they're right, and there's a clash. And no one in that has the ability, because the lineage, the forefathers, the grandmas, have been browbeating to a degree this rhetoric, not right or wrong. And this one has been browbeating that rhetoric, right or wrong. And then there's no middle ground. And so now you have, Palestinian war, Gaza, all this other stuff, right? You have all these wars. You have, Ukraine and Russia. You have shoot now with which is just ego of country and mind and being, between dominant world powers, China, U.S., right? And which we already got to deal with that already. And I'm like, people, we can do better. And this is not trying to be on some hippie-ish. It's not that at all. As you can see, I mean, you're not blind if you've seen it, if you listen to this on audio. I'm a black man from America. So yeah, I know about, our history of, transatlantic slave, routes and, being brought over, for the economy to, whips and chains and tearing families apart, being told you're less than a human. I get all that. But I also understand though too, again, if the deities that are out there, whatever you want to believe in, is your leader, they allow these things to happen. But while I'm physically here, it's up to me. If I want it to be different, I have to be different. I can't keep blaming what was horrific and catastrophic and damaging to generational people, even i.e. me. I can't keep blaming that. At some point, I got to take responsibility. It's the same way we talk about, if you are an adult and your upbringing, you got childhood trauma. We focused on that in the past 10 or 15 years in therapy and all this stuff, bring up childhood trauma. At some point, people, you got to grow up. You got to take responsibility for, look, your parents only did the best they could do, or your parent only did the best he or she could do. At some point, especially when you get to a point when you have kids, I have a 19-year-old daughter, you got to take responsibility because now you're in charge of a life. And they're looking at you as you messing me up or you're doing great by me, right? Either way, and most likely it's still going to be an element of you messing me up because this is what it is. We're not perfect beings. We're just beings, right? My point is you got to take responsibility. And that's what we want to teach here is how to take responsibility for what you can control. Not giving a pass to the erroneous, wrong things that are out there. But again, if you focus on negative, energy flows or energy goes, you're going to only support that as opposed to really making the change on that. This is why it's so imperative for you to take full responsibility and do the best of making sure you're stoic enough. So when the wrong injustice activities or whatever it might be, whether it's you losing a job, whether it's someone being murdered, whether it's wars, whether it's, child kidnapping, we understand the horrific things that are out there. There's a way in which you can go about it. Shouldn't be a reaction to further the problem, but strengthen and rebuild. And the ones that are causing the small percentage of the ones that are doing this mass damage, we don't have to highlight and bring more attention to it. We can actually do better, which is what the religions are trying to teach us anyway, how to do, right? But we're missing that boat because we're not working on our personal responsibility and integrity on a consistent basis to deliver what we need to deliver. So I said all that to say, going back to once you find your compelling reason, the first C, to hone in on your inner technology, you got to be committed to it. You got to be dedicated to it. And that means daily. When you wake up, that means if we talk about, which we do talk about this platform, I think you can tell a little bit, I take care of myself. I'm about to be 44 in less than 3 weeks. Well, 2.5 weeks, I'll be 44. I feel great. I don't know about this external. That's up to debate on whoever we're looking at me, but I feel great. Body's in top condition. I can go for miles. I can sleep well. I can focus in on my work, for long hours. I can have deep, in-depth conversations. I can learn new things, even though it's tough. I've always had a tough time learning academically, but I still can do it because I'm clear of mind. I take care of my body, but I wake up every day to do so, right? That being said, I'm committed to that. And it's a daily commitment, dedication to that dynamic. And it doesn't take long. It just takes 30 to 45 minutes, top 60 minutes to do it. But the stacking habit, the same way with investments, by putting away $10 or $50 or $100 or $1,000 monthly. Over years, it builds up to where you have a savings and investment, but it takes time, right? Same thing with your wellness. So I'm committed to that. We're committed to that here on this platform of teaching and showing that deliverable. I'm committed to my spiritual development. Again, not claiming a sect, but claiming understanding of a higher power that is infused within me that I give respect to, by taking care of my mind, by taking care of my body, by trying to do what's right more often than not. Am I perfect? By no means. You talk to some ladies I talk to, they're like, "Well, he don't tell me all the truth, right?" I'm just being honest, right? Or, which again, I'm not saying I don't lie, but it's like I thought I was in love with you. It didn't work out, right? That type of thing, right? And then it's hurt, right? But again, I'm being honest. I tried to make the relationship work. It didn't work. So you talk to ladies, they're like, "Hey, he's not the best guy in the world." But again, that's just life. That's the ebb and flow. But for the most part, my integrity is still intact. And if I do, say a white lie, I try to make sure again, I fess up once I realize I made that mistake, and I realize that I, not only got caught on it, but I'm also that was wrong of me to do. I try to say, look, I'm sorry, and then wherever we move on with that relationship, we move on. But again, it's taking responsibility. Doesn't mean when you take responsibility that it's all going to work out and be hunky dory. Doesn't mean that. It just means though you're taking responsibility so you can move forward and allow that moment or situation to not be traumatic enough for you, and you can build off of it, not so much harbor it, and then it festers on you like most things do. So I'm committed to this daily. So the first C is compelling, second C is commitment, the third C is consistency. You know what it is. We talk about this, we talked about in other episodes. Consistency, consistency, consistency. um Giving effort, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, is vital. um we tend to get tired. We're human. We tend to want to take a break, and it breaks our consistency. It breaks our deliverables on um, the uniform action that we need to take in order to create the habit stacking necessary to see the results that we're looking for, or at least to permeate the universe and the energy with the proper formality so it can build and people outside can receive the proper energy. We tend to break from that, right? um, and we want to make sure we stay as consistent with our activities, our behaviors over time. One thing I like, literally, I just left the gym this morning, and a lady stopped me, and she was like, "You look great," and I was like, "Thank you." And she wasn't trying to hit on me; she was being nice. And she was like, "How long have you been working out?" And I told her 30 years, and she's like, "Wow, I just started 4 years ago." And it's always nice for me, and I'm hoping that it comes off this way. I appreciate the fact that people see my external and they see my workout ethic in the gym, but they look at me and then when they hear 30 years, this is not something that just I started, a year ago or 6 months ago. It's just 30 years of consistency, which over time the results show. And I've always been in shape, but over time it sustains at a high, excellent level of deliverable because I've been consistent. I was compelled to get into my wellness. I got committed to it, right? I developed the behaviors, the activity to make sure I stay committed to it and I stay consistent with it. And now over time, it's showing the much needed results that I need from the standpoint at 40, I can go to sleep, in an awkward position and my back not be blown out. I can, pick up a item off the ground and again, not blow my back or my hip because my body is conditioned well enough to where I'm okay, right? And I know 40-year-olds who, blow out their back just sit in the car, right? Or waking up or twisting over and turning over in the bed. So that consistency builds the resilience and fortifies the better of oneself over time. And that's what we're looking for. So compelling, commitment, consistency. And what happens when you do those three things, remember I told you for my other business, we started with 3 C's, but I added 2 more. What happens is you get convicted over the time period. You get convicted um, in your beliefs and your opinions on something when you get convicted. So what we want to build here is the opportunity for you to get convicted in building your inner technology. That should be your belief system because if you believe in yourself and you're convicted in it, It's like you go to court and they convict you guilty, right? If they find you guilty of having committed a crime. Well, the crime I want to commit is working on me and taking full responsibility for everything that happens to me in this life while I'm tangible blood and, and skin and bones here, talking and all that, moving around. I want to take full responsibility. From the standpoint, I am saying to the powers that be, I take full responsibility because you've given me the opportunity. You've given me the chance daily by giving me the life. So it's my job to be convicted to go after what I said I'm compelled to do, what I'm committed to do, and what I stay consistent with the right things so I can be the better of what you gave me. It doesn't matter. That's how I show my truancy, not by saying, well, because I believe I'm a believer, then I'm going to go to this far off better place, or I'm part of the 400 whatever whatever it might be. To me, that we're getting off the point. The point is you being the better of yourself while you're physically here. So what you can do is with that, you can be the light, you can be the example to someone else who can't see it. Not saying, hey, jump into this. It's kind of like, to me, and this is a bad example, but it's an example. I'm gonna say it because to me, it's what we do when we talk about, well, you're not Jewish, you're not Catholic, you're not Christian, you're not Muslim. It's like saying, I bank at this bank. If you want your money to be right, you got to bank at this bank. And it's like, well, I don't even have money. And you just tell me I got to bank at this bank. Let me, I don't even know how to get money. I know I need it, but I don't know how to get it. And the only thing you're saying is because I'm not part of this bank, which is a billion banks out here. And I'm not, if I don't bank with this bank, I'm never going to be rich, or I'm never going to, that's not the point. The point is, how do I start to manage my money? How do I understand how to, obtain money? How do I, manage my money? And then how do I get money to work for me? No matter what entity I'm a part of. And that's kind of how we do a religion to me. And it's like, if you're not a part of this bank, well, you ain't gonna ever be nothing. You know what I'm saying? And well, we're over here, we hold these events over here at this particular bank, and we're better than somebody. It's like, come on, man. We go to this event every year over in Aspen, or over in Switzerland. And if you're not a part of this, it's the same thing in religion. And I'm like, it's so stupid because religion is supposed to be a uniting force. The concept of it is supposed to be a uniting force. So what I want us to get convicted on is the only thing that matters is developing the proper principles and be convicted with that and being committed, consistent with that, right? And then we'll grow into what we need to grow into as humans, and we'll be right, and we'll be more empathetic to those who are seeking, right, their path and seeking their approach, as opposed to alienating them, even when we're not trying to alienating them, because the premise of being a part of a group is alienation. like like if you're not part of this, if you're not a part of this frat or this sorority or this college, you're that, and we don't support that. you know I agree, I'll let you do you, but if you're not that, you're not a part of it, right? And it's so stupid to me. So what we want to work on, though, is being convicted on basic internal technology, understanding oneself, be convicted on delivering that. All right. Once you do all of those, you're compelled, you're committed, you're consistent, you're convicted over time because of your consistency. And the last one is you will build confidence. And confidence is just the self assurance arising from one's appreciation of their ability. Or qualities, right? And that's interesting to me because confidence, evidently, when you say it like that, appreciation, self-awareness arising from. The only way it can arise is meaning it has to grow, right? And the only way for it to grow is because you have been consistent with your behavioral patterns that give you the conviction and then the confidence that, oh, okay, I've done it over time. So therefore, now I'm confident what I can deliver to society, to the world, to myself, most importantly, and then into those other areas, my family. And so I think we do it in reverse right now. We want to have the Kobe confidence. Well, Kobe had the confidence because he committed to himself. He gave him a non-negotiable when he was younger. he committed to himself, and then he stayed consistent, never wavered on that, then it built the conviction, and then it built the confidence that we call, when people don't really recognize, you call arrogance at first. When you realize it was just confidence, because it arose from the continual proper habits and deliverable that he gave to himself. Then he can produce it on, the platform that he had, which was basketball, NBA basketball, and we could see it, right? This is what we want to do in daily life for every individual. That's why we're building my inner tech platform and communicating to you the way we're communicating to you. And I thank you for staying with me for this 30-minute rant. But I'm just trying to give you an understanding of where we're coming from, and the premise of both myself and Doc. Um, we want to make sure we develop the confidence after doing the first 4 C's, because the confidence is going to ebb and flow. As you heard, feeling self assurance arising from one's appreciation for your own abilities. You only get that appreciation by seeing yourself deliver on a continual basis. It's the same way, the only reason why you appreciate, or you're confident in your Apple phone or your Wi, is because it works the way you want it to, right? On a consistent basis. If it didn't, you'd be like, I'm not confident in this, right? The only reason why you're confident in, your team that you cheer for in sports, soccer, or whatever it might be, football, whatever it might be, is because they're continuously winning, right? When there was the Patriots, confident fan is like, well, every year for the past, 8, 9 years, decade, we've been, well above 500. So you're confident because of the deliverables of what have been a consistent deliverable over some time, right? I'm confident as a Cleveland Brown, not a fan, but just, I'm not a fan of anybody, but if I had to have a team, because I was born and raised in Cleveland, I'm pretty confident that they're not going to win each year, because for the past 15, 20 years, it's been disappointment, right? So I'm confident that they're not going to be a powerhouse team, right? Until things change. Again, hopefully it does for them, you know what I'm saying? But confidence comes from consistency, the deliverables, being convicted in one's beliefs and delivering on a daily basis. The same way most of you who are probably may have tuned out, or if you're still listening to me, you're convicted in some shape or form in the belief of your religion, right? And I'm not saying don't believe in your religion per se. I'm saying we need to shift the dynamic, though. What are we really believing in? And I know a lot of you will say, well, I believe in, because I believe in this way. But I'm like, again, I go back to what I've been saying. I believe we need to get to a belief within our inner self. The belief and the faith has to be with your ability to deliver to yourself on a daily basis the excellence that your deity is trying to let you know that you have within you. And we can't keep putting it off to them as if, the prayer, help me, why am I here, why have you forsaken me, or thank you for this opportunity. The thank you is just doing the freaking work. The thank you is daily getting up, exercising, daily getting up, doing your work. If you're a social media influencer, if you're a cyber tech security agent, engineer rather, if you're a dark data engineer, if you are a, whatever you might be, a project manager, being excellent at that job, even when the C-suite executives come in and don't even give you the praise. You don't need that, because your inner technology is of such to where you deliver your excellence no matter what is given to you as far as praise or not. If they let you go, you don't snap on them. You don't even worry about the fact that they let you go. Like Doc talked about in his deliverable, his integrity was when he got, let go from his company. Hey, what's the opportunity? What's the seed of growth within this? It's not based off of, well, my God got, it ain't based off of that. While we're taking time to say that, you could be delivering the thing that needs to just be delivered, which is just be. Obviously, your God got you. Your God made them let you go. Your God obviously has you. Just do the work instead of, woe is me, crying about, what you didn't do, which is probably save your money or, spend your money well. Now that's on you. You take responsibility for that, right? And instead of, oh man, how you let me go right now? This time, this is a bad time. Da, 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 da. Your God is also a part of that process as well. The God in you needs to rise above that immediately. Immediately, not delayed, not a few weeks later, not a few months later, not after you have to go, to your temple or to your mosque or to your church and, sit there and, and say, why have you forsaken? Immediately. Like, you and your God were the one who got you the job. You and your God were the one who got you the education and knowledge to get you this position, right? All right, so now it's time to show up and show up for yourself and do the next thing, the next pivot that will work for you to be the better of yourself. Evidently, this was brought about for you to make a change, right? But we get so caught up in wanting to uh, announce our belief in the deity. And reality is you saying that as a projection because back home, you're like, man, this is some fucked up shit. Like these bills are piling up. And every time you say that, that is not what you say when you at the church or when at the mosque or temple or you on a public platform. We want to get to the inner technology that when you are by yourself, this is what you're saying. I got this. It's okay. When you're looking at that bill, I will have the money. I have the money right now. It's just not tangibly there right now, but it's okay. I'm gonna take care of it, and it's gonna work itself out because it's there in you, right? You're the one that can create this. You're the one that can do this because the power that's in you. That's all we're saying. So my inner tech is here to move us in a direction where we can take responsibility comfortably, giving and paying homage by doing the right things, not the showy perceived things. The reason why, and I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna get off this platform and let you guys kind of mull over what I said if you stay with me this long. Reason why I don't believe in marriage, even though I've seen a successful marriage on paper and in person, not even on paper, but in person. My parents have been married for 45 years, currently right now, still going. They'll be the Notebook. They'll die together most likely, right? But I don't believe in the system of marriage any longer. I think it's an outdated, archaic premise because we focus on the marriage terminology, but the real root of it is based off of what's supposed to be a commitment. And we skip over the commitment because we want to get to this idea of this thing, this to say we're married. Like a person will say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim. We want to say I'm this thing, but the work comes doing the work. It's not about the thing. Because I also know of people who were together till they died 40, 50 years, who never married, but they raised families, but never married. Because it's not about the marriage, it's about commitment. It's not about saying what you are. It's about the work that has to get done. And I think when we do that, like I said, if we did more of focusing on the work within ourselves, we'd be more empathetic with each other. We would be more accepting, compassionate, understanding of each other. And it doesn't mean that we still won't have the strive to want to be great and be the best at what we do. If we want to get over the ignorance of, mass homelessness, we want to get over the ignorance of wars, killings and massacres of families and displaced people, wandering for thousands of miles and can't cross borders because if they cross this border, then they're actually in the war-torn enemy zone. If we want to get past that, which we thought we were, but we're not, we have to change ourselves, people. We have to work on our inner technology. We have to be genuine. We have to be compelled first. All my 5 C's: compelled, committed, consistent with what we do, with our proper habits and deliverables. And we will go through them again as we go through this platform. That's why we create this platform. Then we need to be convicted. And then we'll have the confidence to go out here and continually deliver on what we know is the right thing. And then we can become one as humanity that we desperately, desperately need right now in this juncture going forward for the next foreseeable future. We need to become one. We can't have this divisiveness because of your color, because of your economics, or because of what region you're from. We can't have that if we want to be able to compete with what we are creating ourselves, that our deities, our gods have blessed us with the knowledge to create, right? There's going to be, as anything, shifts in dynamics. but we can sustain the shift in a positive way if we're united and rooted in principles that are governed across all of us, no matter what your economic or color or region of the world you're from. All right. So I hope you tracked with me a little bit with this. I know I kind of went on my little soapbox, but I appreciate you guys. I thank you for joining us here on this platform. We are changing, like I said, to my inner tech. Yeah, so you don't be surprised when you see that. Doc will be back on the next episode to talk with you guys a little further, and we'll go a little more in depth with where he is with why we want to change to my inner tech, so you understand us as a team. Okay. But thank you. Work on your intertech, your inner technology, your premise, your foundations. Go back to our episodes, talking about integrity. We're talking about mundane tasks and consistency with that, deliverables on that, and building yourself first and foremost and being the change agent that you want to see in the world and not expecting for outside circumstances to shift your dynamic. You be the one in the control of that. And by doing so, you're paying homage, you're paying respect to the higher powers that have blessed us with this ability to be here, but also give us the opportunity to be here on a daily basis to evolve well. All right. And it's not by talking about it or by bending over and doing this all day. It's about doing the work necessary